Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope you're well. Thanks for all the feedback on the recent episode, the songs and chants one. That was an episode where I looked at the history of where some of our terraced songs have derived from. Got a great reception, that. Thank you very much. If you've not heard it yet, go seek it out. It is still available at your podcast provider of choice or threelionspodcast.com. And I guarantee you there are a few on there that will get stuck in your head for a few days. And like I said on it, if you've got an idea for a new song, be it about the team or a particular player, maybe one of your favourites, let me know. Let's move on to this episode. You may remember a little while back I spoke with England fan Jordan Halston about his memories of Euro 2024. Well, I've spoken to a few England fans about the tournament and I have another one for you in a moment. But before I get to it, just a quick reminder that you can follow the show on social media. Just search Three Lions Podcast on the likes of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Always happy to have a chat with you. Or on the email, threelionspodcast@gmail.com. And also, if you would like to support the show, there is a Ko-fi account. That all goes towards the monthly hosting of it. Basically, I record the podcast. I then upload that episode to a podcast server who then push it out to the likes of iTunes, Spotify, YouTube too, basically anywhere that you consume it. And that costs me a monthly fee. So should you want to contribute in any way, I'd be more than grateful. Just head to kofi.com/Three Lions Podcast, ko-fi.com/Three Lions Podcast. Now, back to this episode. Stuart Franklin is a friend of the show and has joined us before to share his memories. Episode 298, if you want to go and have a listen to that at some point. But here he is, taking us back to the summer just gone. Let's welcome to the Three Lions Podcast, Blackburn Rovers and England fan, Stuart Franklin. Stuart, hello there.
Hi, Russell. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm really good. Really good.
Finally back home after a summer tournament. How's it all sort of caught up with you?
Yeah, towards the end, as you know, sort of there was a Germany variant going around of COVID, and yeah, as you'll find out later on, I sort of caught it towards the back end of the trip, but fully over that now, which is good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, the idea with this episode, this little series, is just to sort of get various supporters their memories, their anecdotes, their thoughts, all those sort of things for the whole tournament, Germany 2024. I'm sure you've got loads of those you're going to share with us, but let's sort of go back to before the tournament even began. What were your preparations and your expectations of it all? How did it all sort of start for you?
So I'm the organizer within our group. So I was the one doing all the preparations, getting on all the flights, the flights that were reasonable for our group. So did all of this prior to the draw, had a real plan as to where we were going to play, you know, what flights we would need to book and so on. Found an ally within our group. So when the draw was made, myself and Mark Poole, his name is, we were literally on Skyscanner, Ryanair, all the different flight sites, booked the first 2 games within, even before the draw had finished. So, my homework kind of paid off because we saved a serious amount of money there. So, yeah, that was the preparation element, really. As it turned out as well, we took a risk and booked some of the knockout games as well.
Yeah.
Which is always a risky thing. So I think that probably tells you my expectations.
True.
Around the draw, I thought we could go really far. So yeah, we booked the quarterfinals, and we even booked the final.
Fair play.
So probably saved a fair bit of money, but things changed. So, which you'll find out later on. As always, plans don't always turn out the way you want them to. But in terms of expectations, I think as we went into the turn of the year, our form really did dip in those 4 games. I mean, in the March, I didn't read that much into it. I just thought, well, he's trying a few different players. But there just seemed to be a little bit of a disconnect, which you started to see in the May friendlies and the Iceland game, as you pointed out on your podcast. The less said about that, the better.
Yeah.
I mean, I think going into that, I think we was just, if we got out of the group stage and had a decent run. So things definitely changed from there. And yeah, obviously, we know what came after that. So, but yeah, I mean, we didn't really go in with massive expectations after that Iceland game, I'd say.
Yeah. So, how many of you were there in your group?
So there was 4. Well, I say 4 of us. There was 6 of us for the first game, because we were flying in and out. And we did some really random trips, Ross. We flew to the first game. We flew to Charleroi,
Belgium,
which is in Belgium. But it was so reasonable, and my research, I'd found that actually to do a FlixBus that gets you over the border, and as you know, we got the fans passes, so it all worked. It was all really reasonable. So we did that for the first game. We flew out on the Saturday after the Germany and Scotland game, the morning after. And yeah, we that's where the journey began. We stayed in a place called Aachen.
Oh yes, I heard that.
Yeah, so that was a border town, and we just assumed that the trains were going to be as well run as they were in 2006. And yeah, I think we quickly learned that they weren't the same service as they were back in the Germany World Cup.
Just before you go on with that, you went to the 2006 World Cup?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So you kind of had a little bit of a vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
Told people who was in our party who didn't go, the transport situation here is so much better than back home. So I'd raised their expectations, and then we quickly realised they weren't as well organised as they were previously.
It's amazing how it sort of, well, I don't want to say crashed, but dipped with regards to that. Because, you're not the only ones who thought that Germany was this sort of well-oiled machine, and they're like the Deutsche Bahn really let them down, didn't it?
Yeah, I think they underestimated just how many people would go. So we did there was a thing where you could pay for all local travel for a month.
Yes.
I can't think of what it was called. It was something. It's not the hamburger one. It was the same kind of one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we purchased that, and then we never really got asked on any trains to show anything. We never had any conductors, so I don't know whether they've had cuts similar to ourselves, but yeah, just woefully fell short of expectations, I'd say.
No, you're right. Well, go on, let's go back to Serbia and Gelsenkirchen.
Yeah. So what happened with us is obviously we stayed the night in Aachen. We'd watched the games there, enjoyed those. But the Sunday morning, there were 6 of us, and we travelled up to. So first of all, we were staying in a place called Krefeld. So I don't know whether you've heard of that. Paul Dennis did a coach from there.
That's right.
But we didn't go on that coach. But later on, that becomes relevant. So we struggled sort of to get to, the ground very quickly. You realised everybody was going early. The trams were really crammed in. And I think we realised quite quickly that coming back was going to be a nightmare. So we did message Paul and said, look, if you've got any spaces on your coach coming back to Krefeld, would you keep us in mind? And he just said it depends on who turns up, But later in the day, Paul helped us out. So all that mess coming back from Gelsenkirchen, a lot of my friends, they weren't getting in till 3-4 o'clock in the morning. We jumped on Paul's coach and he got us back. So I've already told him this. Next time I see him in the Green Man, he'll be having a few beers off me.
What a hero.
Yeah, he definitely helped us out. So that was massive. But yeah, going back to the game, it was for the first 30 minutes, we thought, wow, we turned up again. Here we go. Bellingham was bossing the game. It was great, actually, because although there were 6 of us in our group who were travelling, there was actually around 20 of us in our group that we all met up with. So we were all and the great thing about this tournament was we could link all our tickets.
Yeah.
So the likes of we've got a Luton contingent of friends, Milton Keynes. So we all live in different parts of the country. So the fact that we tend to fly in from different airports, but then meet on the days of the game, and then but this allowed us to all sit together, so it was really good.
Yeah, UEFA get a bit of a bad hit sometimes, but they done well on that one, didn't they?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the best thing you can do, really, that you can sit with your friends, because I think in previous tournaments, we've not always had that ability to be able to sit with friends. It's been pretty random in selection, hasn't it? So yeah. Completely agree with you that that the fact that they're making it more appealing, aren't they, for people to attend games, which is great. And I also have to say the price of the tickets were fantastic, really. This is where the loyalty, I think, really does pay off. You spend a lot of money obviously travelling following England, so to get the tickets at, I think it was around £30 or maybe even less than that. Fantastic, really. So yeah, they get a bad rep, but I think they're more reasonable, I think, than FIFA. I think FIFA have completely gone the other way. So yeah, can't fault that. But yeah, coming back to the game, first 30 minutes, I thought Bellingham looked the player that we all hoped he was, and I thought he bossed the game and really was causing them a lot of problems. And the atmosphere was fantastic, wasn't it? Everybody was singing his name. And then they started fouling him. I don't know whether you saw this in the game, but you could see them. They were fouling him off the ball. They were just trying to wind him up, weren't they, to try and get him sent off.
Yeah, they realised that he was the danger.
Yeah. And I just thought after that, we just seemed to lose impetus. Got the job done. I think the atmosphere throughout the game was absolutely fantastic. The fans didn't really get on the backs. I think, it was good at that point. But then, obviously after the game, there was all the chaos, as I said before, getting back. But like I say, we got quite fortunate because we went to Paul Dennis's coach, so we were able to get back to Crefeld at a good hour. Now,
which, by all accounts, Paul then had a bit of a nightmare coming back himself after he dropped you off.
He did, yeah. So what happened is we were all they were staying in Crefeld and so on. They had a problem with the ferry, didn't they?
Something like that.
But what happened to us was, as I was alluding to before, as you can be as organised as you want, Russell, but these airlines at the moment, they'll cancel your flight just like that. And we had our return flight changed, which meant that the train we had going back to Charleroi was cancelled. Sorry, not cancelled. It was, we wouldn't have got that train to get us back to in time. It was just too early. So it just messed our plans up. So this happened about a month prior to the game. So straight away we just went on and we booked whatever we could from Cologne, because you could get to Cologne quick enough. So that was the first one, really, first issue. But not too bad in the grand scheme of things. We probably saved a lot of time and travel and got more sleep. So, there's always sort of benefits from that. But yeah, so we flew home. I think we were only back for about a day, if I'm honest with you, Russell.
Yes, I know that feeling.
So you can be as organised as you want when you look back and you think to yourself, what was I thinking? Why did I just stay out? But it's difficult, Russ, because, you're like myself, got a young family, and when you've got a young family, they depend on you. So you have to come back. So yeah, worked for a day, then travelled to my friend's Russell, who's been on your podcast. Because the next flight we were taking was actually from Stansted. So we flew out to Karlsruhe, which is a little bit south of Frankfurt, actually. Okay. It's about 2 hours on train, because you have to jump on certain trains. Bit awkward. On the map, it looks really close, Russell. But you quickly realise, actually, it's not as close. Now, it's a weird place where the airport is. In 2006, the England squad they trained in a place called Baden-Baden.
They did, yes.
And that's where the airport is outside of that. Karlsruhe itself is a lot further away. So, you're quickly realising it says Karlsruhe Airport, but actually it's further away.
Is this like one of these sort of London airports, almost like London Southend issue?
Yeah, London Luton, that type of
gotcha.
one. You've got, and with no transport links other than getting. No. There is a coach. They did do a buzz, but when you land at what was it, about 10 o'clock at night, you're not going to get one. But we dropped on because there was a guy who was in a taxi. He was about to go, and we asked this guy where he was going, and he says, well, we're just going to Baden-Baden. But the taxi driver says, you won't get to Karlsruhe, so if you want to jump in. So we jumped in with this guy, and he dropped us at Baden-Baden train station.
Nice.
So we saved an absolute fortune, but we were able to get there for a decent time as well. We almost killed Russell in the process because we pulls up at the train station and the train's pulled in. I'm clearly a lot younger than Russell. So me and Ian, another friend who's out, we're running to catch this train. And poor Russell, who's like close to being a pensioner, is nearly having an heart attack as he's getting onto the train. So yeah, we're sort of apologising to him. He wasn't too best pleased, but I think he's happy just to get there. So, but yeah, so we managed to get to Karlsruhe at a decent time, able to get out and have a few beers, catch up on what happened with the Scotland game, because Scotland had played that evening. So that was interesting. And then, yeah, we went up to Frankfurt, the next day, and that was probably a smoother ride as we'd had, actually. We just got on the train and there was no delays. Frankfurt train station's absolutely huge. There were so many things in there. But coming back, we were unsure how we were going to get back to Karlsruhe. So we had to go and find this coach station because we'd already booked a coach. So that was our first objective, because the problem with Flixbus is they can pick you up and drop you off in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So we learned this from trip one. We found all that, and we had a real good time actually in the Frankfurt game. There were so many England fans, it felt like, in Frankfurt. There's so many bars, wasn't there, so they could accommodate the big number. Whereas Gelsenkirchen, there was barely any, wasn't there? So
that's right.
So the atmosphere was good. What happened was the four of us, the core group of us, we started walking to the ground. For every single game, actually, we decided we were going to get to the ground early because the transport links and just the sheer number going was going to cause issues getting in. So we just decided we would make us way to the ground about 3 hours before kickoff each time.
Sensible, yeah.
And what happened was we made our way to the train station as the police marched to different sets, like thousands of Denmark fans.
Right, because there were a lot of them, weren't there?
Yeah, exactly. And we're in the middle of these two marches.
Oh.
And it was really intimidating. But they were funny, actually. Most of them were like shaking his hands as they were going past. But they were just singing, England, England, it's never coming home. Never coming home. Which we laughed at, to be funny. We found that actually hilarious. But they were just, after about 5 or 10 minutes of us being in the middle of them, we decided we really needed to make a move. So we had to sort of break ranks and sort of get through them and get to the train station to get up to Frankfurt. But yeah, that was, thank God it was Denmark and not maybe Serbia, who were known for having that sort of
element.
Exactly. So we never feared for his safety, but it was quite intimidating, to say the least. But yeah, that was then we went to the ground and I met yourself, didn't I?
Yes.
For the Denmark game. I think it was because one thing that they did well in this tournament was they showed the other games, didn't they?
Yeah, the screens, yes.
Yeah. So that was really good. So and they obviously had Serbia and Slovenia on. And as we were talking, I think Serbia had just equalised and then they blew the whistle, didn't they?
The last minute, yes, you're right.
Yeah, so that was interesting. I'm not sure what you thought of that stadium. I thought it was a nice enough stadium, but I thought it was really muggy that day.
I don't think it helped by the fact it had like what appeared to be a PVC roof on it, which just kept all the sweat in.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It was really hot. It must have been hell to play in for the players.
Imagine so, yeah.
I mean, not to make excuses, it was the worst performance that we put in, and that's not saying much. But we were really poor in that game. It started well again. Obviously we scored, didn't we? And but this was the first game, and I'm not sure if you noticed this, but there was a lot of fans congregating in the middle of the aisles.
Okay.
In the stairways. And I don't know how this is coming about. I don't know whether, we're having an element of jibbing in, which is what happened at Wembley, or whether, fans were just not satisfied with the seats that they were allocated with. But yeah, it was very difficult to sort of get out of the ground and or just go to the toilets or go to get a drink. But when England scored, there was a poor lad coming down, very naive, you could tell, 18-year-old, lad got 4 beers in his hand. Harry Kane scores. He goes flying, and all the beers just completely drenched all of us around us. So yeah, that, I mean, you know, people were jumping over it. A lad got hurt, actually. You could see somebody had I don't know if he was in the walkway or whether he was just inside on his seat. He'd landed, I think he'd done his arm in, I'm not sure. So there's that health and safety aspect. Some guy fell on top of me, but you know, he was quite a small lad, so I was able to catch him and sort of push him back, you know, so he was standing up. So there was a little bit, I didn't really enjoy that as much as the other games because I was just wary of people falling on us. So there was that little bit, and then it all turned as well. You know, when Denmark scored, you know, there was comments for starting, and I think I mentioned this on your podcast, the game. I think I sent you a recording, didn't I? I'd never seen the fans turn on the team and Southgate as much as they had, and I get with Hungary at home, but this felt like this was it. You know, you knew from here on in Southgate wasn't going to continue after that. Yeah. There was just like, it was like a switch. They just turned on him. So that was all very disappointing to see. You know, obviously he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he has given us some of the best moments of all.
Without doubt.
So yeah, so that was. We were poor in that game. No arguments. We probably deserved to lose, but you know, we got the draw, and you know, obviously went on from there. So,
I mean, just to be fair, in hindsight, Denmark were a decent European side, aren't they? For us to, I don't know if our expectations, sort of in hindsight, looking back, were a bit too high to be thinking we should just be sweeping Denmark aside. Admittedly, as you say, the performance wasn't the best, but yes, it's tournament football as the phrase sort of became to be known.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Denmark, I mean, they've had success in their past, and we know with a side like Denmark, they can turn anybody over on their day. So yeah. You can't just go gung ho. It just doesn't work. And you know, with the conditions, the pitch was terrible, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, you're right. That one was the one that I noticed. It was tearing up straight away.
Yeah, divots everywhere. It was like somebody had played golf on it.
Yeah.
Which was, crazy. So I think there was a little bit of confidence loss with that as well. So, and I think that was the first game I'd seen in a long time where I felt like Walker had a pretty poor game. To be honest, other than setting up the goal, he just seemed to lose his marker. You know, he was giving the ball away. He wasn't the only one, but he's generally a 7 out of 10 guy for most games, isn't he? Someone you can rely on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But he didn't turn up that day. But yeah, so that was the first 2 games. So the first 2 games were what I was doing in the group stage. Russ, I couldn't go out for the 3rd game because it's my wife's birthday.
It would have been a tough one to negotiate that.
Exactly, and I've already booked to go Ireland for our wedding anniversary. So to do both, I think I would have been coming back to my suitcases on the
P45.
yeah, and well and truly deserved, I think. Yeah. So. But I mean, she was really patient, to be fair. So, you know, I couldn't miss that. So, yeah. So all the other guys went without me. They had a great time. Cologne was beautiful, wasn't it? From all accounts, and sunny,
very hot.
Yeah, that was the first hot day because the difference between this and the last World Cup was we had a fair bit of rain.
That's right.
So chalk and cheese then tournament. But, so I wasn't due to come back out again, Russ, till the quarterfinals.
Right. So you missed Slovakia as well. You missed Gelsenkirchen, the round of 16. So you watched those at home or in the pub? Or?
Yeah, so watched them at home. So the game, Slovenia midweek game, so couldn't do that. But I always at least watch one game with my brother Jamie.
Yeah.
In any tournament. Often it's difficult with England games because typically I'm out watching them.
Yeah.
But this offered us that opportunity.
Nice.
So him and his wife came round. So we watched the game, and it was it was as bad as it gets for 88 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the thing for me was when Rice hit the woodwork and it came back out to Kane and he sort of messed up the follow-up.
Oh, yes.
And
yeah.
I turned to everyone and I said, that's it, guys. You know, you need that little bit of luck. We're going out. And then Bellingham scores probably, you know, the modern day David Platt goal to get us into extra time. And yeah, it was amazing. Just always, I nearly hit the roof. I jumped up that high. My wife had sort of was pottering around by the door, and so she was wondering what was going on. So me and my brother are jumping up and down, and his wife, and yeah. So and then first minute of extra time, Kane steps up, and the game was turned round. It was, you couldn't script it.
If you could, people wouldn't believe you, would they?
Yeah, exactly. If you make a film of that game, it'd just be unrealistic. But yeah, it was. That was when you were thinking, "Wow, we could really go on here because we're just getting the rub of the green."
Yeah.
You know, so I think I was just happy and relieved that I was going to get out and see another game. To be honest with us, because
I bet you were thinking, like throughout that game, "Oh no, I've booked the quarterfinals and I'm not going to use it."
Yeah, exactly that. And we were following the same route as we'd done for game one. Because anywhere in the West, it's quite accessible from Belgium.
Yeah.
So we'd even booked an hire car for this one, Ross. This is how confident we were
Fair play.
Past Slovakia. So yeah. So we'd done all that. So yeah, organisation mode turned in again. Russell had had a bit of a nightmare as well for the game, the third game. So he was very intent on not doing any more trains because one of them had been cancelled on him. So they had to jump on a taxi, and he was. I think the trains had just completely put him off from wanting to do anything of that nature. So we just said, right, let's do the hire car.
Not just confidence.
Yeah, big time. I think they were pushing it anyway because there wasn't much time between connections. So when one got cancelled, that just threw all their plans out.
Gotcha, yeah.
So he was like, just get a hire car sorted. So we done that, and we actually were staying near Charleroi Airport, so it's pretty straightforward. So Russ came to here on the Friday. That was when the election happened back here.
Oh, right, yeah.
So obviously Labour got in and everything. So there was a lot going on there. And then we talk about German trains. Our train to the Manchester airport was cancelled. But luckily there's enough routes to get us there. So we just went to a sort of smaller town outside Manchester and just were able to get an Uber to the airport. So yeah, I think cancellations. One thing I have missed, actually.
Go on.
The most random story ever. Coming back from the second game, we had the most ridiculous experience going, Russ. We'd got a flight back to Stansted booked, and we get on the plane, and as the steps, the guys who do the steps pull those steps away, it's one of those airports, ripped the steps, so the steps were still attached.
To the plane?
To the plane, yeah. Random experience. So that while this is all going on, so we're on this plane for 2 hours. before before they fix it, the fixing and everything. So it was around 2 hours. So we just sat there. I think we ended up putting one of the games on one of the phones, watching that. It was the most random experience. They then fix it, and then the weather comes in. Thunderstorms above us. Oh, we're going to be delayed for another half an hour or so. The weather clears. We're just doing all the checks, just about to take off. And the pilot stops the engine, comes back into the and announces that he's gone past his hours and he can't fly.
No way.
So we had a 6-hour delay in calls with him. So that was just the most. I mean, we were lucky because we got the flight. We got some money back, which proved quite useful for later in the tournament. But yeah, so 6 hours later, so that was a long day. But just the most random experience of delays you could imagine,
I just assumed that was a straightforward procedure. It's like the steps go up to it, they pull them away. Wow. It goes to show what I know. Wow.
It was just weird. I don't know how it happened, but yeah, they were saying that it had broken off. So some engineer guy had to come and get them off, because ultimately they couldn't take off with part of the
some steps attached.
Landing in somebody's lawn on the way back. So yeah, so that was bizarre, if anything. But yeah, we got just over £200 return from that, so that was really useful. So that helped us out later on. So that was good. But yeah, going back to the quarterfinal, it was an interesting one because we was watching the other quarterfinals. When we was there, and Spain and Germany was a really interesting game. But you were thinking France and Portugal, they were just as bad as us, really.
Yes.
I think the one thing I'd take from this tournament as a whole, other than Spain, I think everybody really, any of the big nations, maybe Germany, but the rest of us all looked pretty knackered, to be honest with you. Pretty
average, yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, there wasn't any other teams that stood out. So we spent the evening in Charleroi. Then we drove to Dusseldorf on the day of the quarterfinal, and we met up with friends again, same group of us. There was less of us this time. There's probably around 14 of us, 15 of us. So we all and I thought Dusseldorf was a really nice city, actually.
Yeah, nice place.
Lots of bars. I think it seemed like a bit of a student town place because there was just bars everywhere. We went up to the ground, mixed with some people we've known through the membership for a while, and it was good to see people. Because when you're in and out, Russ, as you know, you might not see all the friends that you usually mix with and see.
Right. Yeah.
But it was nice, actually, to catch up with people. And actually, this time, I felt like we'd started that game really well, actually. I thought the change in system, we played really well, I thought. In that first half, without really causing them too much trouble, they seemed to give us a bit of confidence back. So that was nice.
But Switzerland had been playing quite well, hadn't they? There'd been I can't remember who they'd sort of knocked out. I think they knocked Italy out along the way. So they were decent opposition.
Absolutely, nearly beat Germany, didn't they? I think Germany equalised in the dying seconds of their group game. Otherwise, they would have topped their group. So, yeah, they were a really good team, really organised, together. Probably the best Swiss team I think I've seen in the years that I've followed. So yeah, I mean, I thought that was a very sort of back and forth game. I think we dominated the game for periods, but then they got on top. And when they scored, I think we all looked at each other and we couldn't see where a goal was coming from.
Because it was late, wasn't it, when they scored?
Absolutely. And we hadn't really tested their keeper that much. But then Saka's goal was beautiful, wasn't it?
Wasn't it? Yeah.
right in front of us. So and it just went crazy in the ground, didn't it? Everyone's jumping. Again, there was people in the aisles, so it was difficult sort of getting out. But what happened, I felt, was a prelude to come was when obviously he took Kane off again. And you were thinking, wow, it looked like Southgate was beginning to lose a bit of confidence in Harry, which rightly so. He seemed to be carrying something.
Yeah.
He wasn't the same Kane as we all know. He just wasn't making the runs or anything. So bringing on Tony, he made a nuisance of himself, didn't he? And
he did.
It was weird because when it went to penalties, you were thinking, we don't do that well in penalties. But under Southgate, we have, we've won penalty shootouts. So you were just, we got the right players on. Cole Palmer scores penalties and so on. So it was brilliant to see us win a penalty shootout, to be there, because I've been to tournaments where we've bbeen knocked out on penalties.
Yes.
So to be there live was just, it was euphoria. It was almost like, what do you do? We were jumping up and down, and what actually happened is weirdly, I'd cut my leg, literally cut down my leg, because you know what it's like. It was just. It's just been scenes is what we call it, isn't it?
Scenes and limbs.
Limbs, that's it. Yeah, limbs. And literally, I'd cut my leg and I didn't even notice, Ross, until I got to the train station where they were diverting us. I think you'd seen Russ, hadn't you, on the way out?
Yeah.
And I was just like making a beeline, and he was and then they mentioned, you've cut your leg there. And all blood was pouring from the leg. I didn't even realise. I don't know what had happened, but I must have just scraped my leg on one of the metal bars or whatever as we're all jumping up and down.
Because was this one of the flip down seats that they had? Yeah, they were dangerous, I think.
Yeah, they were quite nasty, weren't they? And the funny thing about that game is there was just and this probably was happening a lot, actually. People were starting to talk to people in the ground, and there was a guy in front of us who was he kept saying, we're going out now, and, we're going to lose on penalties. We never win on penalties. Then we get to Ivan Toney's penalty, and he's like, Tony's going to miss this. I know he always scores, but he's going to miss this. And you're
the last people you want around you.
Yeah, I think in the end, me and Russell looked at each other as if to say, you've been saying this all along, mate. Shut up, basically. He was a nice enough lad, but I just think he was just nervous more than anything. But that's following England, isn't it? I think I'd probably say tournament football, you love it, but you also hate it because you're nervous all the time about what the outcome's going to be.
Yes.
So in terms of then the semi-final, I didn't have enough holidays to stay out there, Russell, unfortunately.
Right.
So I came back with Russell. Russell is retired, so he had the brain, and a lady who travels with us as well, called Pat, a lovely lady from Manchester. They decided they were going to go back out, even though they didn't have tickets. But they managed to source tickets through somebody who'd applied, so they were fortunate from that point of view. So they went back out with just paying the one-off flight with no return. So they were banking on us getting to the final, otherwise they didn't know how they were going to get back.
Yeah.
Now I'd booked me and Russell a flight just before the Slovakia game. I'd changed our route, a direct flight on the Friday to Berlin, and I got it for a really cheap price. I think we paid £90.
Oh, nice.
For a single there. I don't know whether you looked at the flight prices, Ross. They were ridiculous. as we were going through the rounds. I think it was at £300 by the time the quarter final happened. So again, took a risk and it paid off, thank God. But yeah, the semi-final, wow. I mean, you went, didn't you? What an atmosphere that must have been.
Oh, it's fabulous atmosphere there. I mean, even just so many Dutch there, just in and around Dortmund, were kind of outnumbered, and you just kind of thought, wow, how's this going to go? But sort of even in the ground, we felt outnumbered. But on the pitch, even though we conceded early, it kind of felt, you know what, we're still in this. It was a noticeable upturn in performance that had probably come about through that Slovakia game, through the win on penalties against Switzerland, that the confidence was there for that one game. I don't know if that came across when you were watching it.
Definitely, we dominated. Certainly that first half. I think one thing I noticed with the Dutch is, unlike the sides we'd played before, who were organised and would stay in a shape and just deny us, their plan was to stop us. The Dutch don't play like that, do they?
No.
And they couldn't handle it. You know, they couldn't handle. They were getting overrun in midfield, bringing Bellingham and Foden seemed to have a world of space. And he was punishing them every time. It
was the one game he was on fire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that song, obviously from match one, couldn't have been further from the truth until that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I think that's the one song we'd probably take from the tournament. But yeah, he played really well and actually should have scored. He was unfortunate with the one that got cleared off the line.
He hit the post as well, didn't he?
He did, yeah, he did. He just seemed to have acres. And you were thinking, wow, this is his first time where he's taken a game by the scruff of the neck.
Yes.
And he's shown us the player he can be. But then second half, obviously, thank God we'd equalised at that point. Fortunate with the penalty, I'd probably say. Though, probably you'd argue anywhere else in the pitch, would it have been given as a foul?
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's a foul anywhere else on the pitch, so it's a foul in the box.
Yeah, and I think the way we played, we definitely deserved to be level, if not leading. So, yeah, but then they made a tactical switch at half-time to flood their midfield and obviously go with the big guy up top, that Weghorst.
Yes.
And that really slowed the game down again. We were struggling for space again. I wouldn't say they dominated, but they were certainly more into the game. They were looking a threat from actually set pieces. But, yeah, I mean, everybody talks about Southgate's substitutions. In the knockout stages, nobody can complain about any of the substitutions he made because
exactly
they changed the game, didn't they? And it happened with Palmer and Watkins, didn't it? It was such a fantastic goal. Fantastic moment for it to be, we score, and then it's 90 minutes, and 2 minutes later, we're walking off, winning another final. And wow, it was just, we don't reach finals, but we've reached 2 in the last 3 tournaments, which is, just couldn't believe it. So it was fantastic. So yeah, Russell and my friend Pat ended up staying out and travelling up to Berlin. And this is where the extra money that we got back from that flight, Russ, really came in handy because, spending an extra couple of days in Berlin. So we travelled over on the Friday. So my other friend Ian from Wigan, he ended up buying Russ his flight. So we just did the name change. So
right.
Me and him travelled. Now at this point, Russ, I'd picked up this sort of bug.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd picked that up from the quarter final. So I didn't drink at all for the semi-final. I spent the whole week having Lemsips, paracetamol, gets there on the Friday. Everyone waited up for us in the hotel. The beers are waiting there for us. So we started drinking, and yeah, needless to say, Saturday night, the day before the final, I couldn't talk.
Oh dear.
I actually could not speak. So that wasn't good. Lads are like, I'm trying to speak, and they're all just saying, don't know what you're saying, mate. What are you saying? Speak up. So yeah. But we did all the all the touristy stuff, the Brandenburg Gate, fantastic in and around there where the BBC did their show.
Yes.
Really nice to see. So we'd done that early on the Saturday. And one thing we noticed, and I've got pictures of these, fantastic. You come the other side as if you're heading towards where the war memorials are on that big route. You take a left and you'd probably find your way to the fans park.
Right.
There was a little shop there that sold like knockoff strips of all the teams that had qualified for the tournament. And they had this rack that just had a sign above it saying the goodbye teams. Obviously the teams who've been knocked out.
I see, yeah.
And the first team was Scotland. So we took a photo, and that was a great photo opportunity. So yeah, and they just got England and Spain shirts on one rack, and then all the others were on. They all had their own place. But yeah, that sort of made us laugh actually. But yeah, we stayed a little bit out of Berlin. We stayed in a place called Potsdam. When there's a final on, obviously hotels are really expensive. So we stayed in a Holiday Inn, had a couple of nights there. They're not really cheap in your bigger cities. So that money that we got back from the flight really helped us out for that. So we suffered at the time, Russell, but it helped us in the end.
Fair enough, yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, we all met up on the day of the game. There must have been Matt Edgar, a guy who's been on your podcast.
Yes.
He stayed in the same. He struggled to get there, actually. They ended up doing the Sport Ops, which went to Leipzig. So they spent a lot of money just to get somewhere that wasn't even Berlin. But, it's what you do, isn't it, when England reach a final?
Yeah, got to be there by hook or by crook.
Exactly. So there was a good number of us, actually. The guys from Milton Keynes, we've got Watford friends, Luton, Leicester, so there's a big group of us. And we had booked a meal in the centre of town. And yeah, we must have given this guy, in the restaurant, he must have had like €500 offers at the end with all the meals and beers and everything. It must have made the day 10 times. And that's a good thing in a way, isn't it? The host country should, make money out of it. It should help their economy, shouldn't it? So, we had a good day. I couldn't drink because obviously I was flued up. Well, not flued up.
Saving your voice. Let's just say that.
Exactly. So having paracetamol, just trying to keep my voice going. And yeah, we got to the ground early as we had done with all the others. It was raining weirdly it'd been sunny all day, but it started raining as we went into the ground, and
I got caught in that rain.
Yeah, it's quite fun actually on the lead up to the ground because there was massive people. Obviously, people wanted to buy tickets. People are obviously trying to get in and things like that. But it was quite a fun atmosphere. Like you say, we got caught in the rain. I'd got a poncho, so I'm just putting it over like me, Ross, and there's my friend Mike, his son. He latched on to us, so we were just spreading this poncho out and trying not to. How big
was this poncho? Sounds like a tarpaulin.
Yeah, well, you'd think so. Yeah, we've just like every little bit of the poncho, just trying to cover each other as we were walking in as a collective state.
What were your thoughts of the final? How were you feeling like ahead of it?
So it was a weird one. I think I knew this was going to be the biggest test. The way that they played throughout the tournament, they were definitely the standout team. I was sort of going into it thinking they've got to be favourites. But the way that we've got through, you were just thinking, is our name on the trophy?
Gotcha.
And it's funny because my friend Ian, who flew over with me, as we were in the airport on the Friday, he was looking for champagne. He was that confident. I think me and Russ, we were a little bit more. It's going to be really difficult because these are a really good side. I mean, that first half, I think obviously they were on top, but I wouldn't say they hurt us or anything. But yeah, so you were starting to think, they're going to dominate the ball. Spanish are always good with the ball, aren't they? And it'll be difficult to get it. We've just got to make the most of the opportunities we got it. And I'd probably say, if anything, we probably should have taken Kane off earlier than we did do.
That's a thought,
Because I just think he wasn't making the runs. He probably wasn't getting the service to keep him interested.
It's a tough call, though, isn't it? Being captain, when do you take him off?
Yeah, that and that's it, isn't it? It's such a difficult time, and you cannot argue with his resume, his career, can you? He's always scored goals and got 3 in the tournament for all his criticism. So but he just wasn't doing what he normally does, where he at least comes. But I think probably the issue was previous tournaments he's had Sterling and Rashford go beyond him with pace, and he didn't have that in this tournament. And I think subconsciously that must have knocked his confidence. And which or was he carrying an injury? I guess we'll never know until he brings an autobiography out. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I think we conceded so early after half time, didn't we? And it was just we're on the back foot from there, weren't we? Yeah. It was difficult. But Cole Palmer, that was like the Watkins goal. It was just wow. Again, it was like Shaw when he scored at Wembley for the Italy final. We were in delirium. It was fantastic. Everyone's picking each other up. And I was sat next to 2 Luton fans who were part of our group, and they are the tallest guys you'd ever wish to meet. And one of them picked me up, Jamie's name is. And I was like, wow, this is like the biggest I've ever been.
Because with the greatest respect, you're not the tallest, are you?
No, I'm not at all. That was, it kind of shocked me actually. But yeah, just everybody again, scenes again. And then we just kind of sat back and sort of invited it back on, didn't we? And the difference with them and other sides we faced is they got the ability to punish us more. I could never be negative with Southgate because he's done an amazing job from where he took over. I did feel that was his last game. You could just tell.
Sense it, couldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he probably had enough of the scrutiny and everything. And 8 years in that job is going to take a toll on anybody, isn't it?
True. Yeah.
But yeah, he gave us 2 finals though, Russ. Not many. Yeah. Nobody else has ever done that, have they?
No, that is true. And a first tournament final on foreign soil as well. That has to be, up there as a massive achievement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a tournament from a perspective of all the times you had with friends. The football left a lot to be desired. I don't think it was as good as the previous one, the 2020 Euros as it was. I thought that was a much better tournament in the sense of the games there was a bit more attacking play. I felt like a lot of teams set up not to lose in this tournament. So it made at times difficult spectacles. But you can't argue with the fact that there was a lot of nations who got through who you wouldn't expect to get through. And, they deserve their moment, don't they? So
yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, I just didn't think it was as entertaining a tournament as previous ones. But, you know, what a journey again. Hopefully we can get over the line one of these times, Russ. You know, can you imagine what it'd be like then?
Yeah, all these thoughts of what it could be like, and sort of you see like the Spanish lift the trophy, thinking, oh, that could have been us. What would it have felt like? Did you stay to watch the trophy, or did you like got plans to get away as soon as you could?
Yeah, we got an early coach, so we flew back from Poznan the day afterwards. We got a really cheap flight. I think it was like, when we booked it back in January, it was like €15. So it was just the bargain. So, but we had to get an early coach, so we had to get back. So yeah, I think obviously had England won, we would have stayed. But yeah, it was, and also there was a lot of nasty shouting going on around us,
right,
towards Gareth, and I didn't really want to stick around and listen to that, to be honest with you. But yeah, so we got back, got up early the next day, and got a flight back around sort of 2ish from Poznan. So it was a good 4-hour coach, so we needed to get that. So that was an early one for us. But yeah, I didn't stick around. That's a shame, really, because you should watch the trophy be lifted, but it just wasn't meant to be.
Is what it is. Hopefully the next time a trophy is lifted, it will be our captain doing it.
Yeah, hopefully. We could see some difficult times ahead, Russ. You never know, do you?
But Stuart, thank you very much as always. I know we've spoken before on the podcast, but it's always great to chat. Always great to meet you in person as well at the games. But yeah, thanks for sharing your memories of Euro 2024.
No problem. We'll have to catch up.
Sounds good to me.
Good man.
My many thanks to Stuart there. I enjoyed that. Those aircraft steps, though. Wow. I'm really not sure how I feel about that. Next time I'm climbing the steps to a plane, I'll be checking how they're attached, how sturdy and safe they are, all the health and safety aspects. Yeah, not sure about that. That's enough from me. I will be back with you very soon. As I'm sure you're aware, England are in action in the next round of the Nations League games. It'll be match day 3 and 4, home to Greece and away to Finland. The preview episode will be with you very soon. I hope you can join me for it. So until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.